Sweet's Journey, Chapter 5. Come on, Sweet, really attack me. I know you can do this. Fiery barked encouragingly, lifting his head to show a tantalizing glimpse of his soft throat. Sweet, still panting for breath after her last attempt, gave him a skeptical sidelong look. Crunching her muscles, she sprang again, only for his huge paw to whack her away. She rolled into a pile of leaves and lay there, flanks heaving, as she tried to gather her dignity. It was 5 journeys of the Sundog since she joined this pack, and she was no closer to besting Fiery in a training fight. Go on, he pleaded. You're nearly there. Try again. Sweet hauled herself up onto her forepaws. It was hard enough practicing fighting techniques with a dog the size of Fiery and a hunter as nimble and lithe as Snap. But it made it a lot harder when Beta sat there smugly in the shade of a tree, scoffing under her breath at all of Sweet's feeble attempts. Fiery was so helpful and enthusiastic, Sweet didn't have the heart to point out how wrong this all was. For a fragile and slender dog like her, Fiery's fighting strategies weren't appropriate at all, based as they were on sheer overwhelming power. Still, she hauled herself to her paws and tried again, launching herself at his shoulders and hanging grimly on. He shook her off with a sheer jerk of his massive body as she thumped once more to the ground. Oh, well done, sweetie. Beta's voice was full of sarcastic delight. Oh, shut up, Beta, thought Sweet grimly. You're loving this, aren't you? Her body already ached in more places than she thought possible. At this rate, she wouldn't be fit even for patrolling. Never mind, sweetie. I believe Omega can be a very fulfilling job. Rage boiled up in Sweet's gut. With a growl of bitter resentment, she launched herself at the unprepared Fiery, squeezing his scruff in her jaws and forcing him down with the sheer weight of her fury. He was back on his paws in moments, but shook himself and licked her in congratulation. Nicely done, he barked. See, you can do it. Of course you can, agreed Snap happily. Huh. Beta got to her paws and strode forward. This is fighting practice, not mothers playing battle games with their pups. This is the pack survival we're talking about. I know you two feel protective, but she's useless. Those legs would break in a strong wind for the Skydog's sake. Panting hard, Sweet glowered at Beta. Red Dog reminded her of Callie, and the way she taunted and bullied Sweet in her old pack. Beta knew just how to provoke her, just as Callie had, and Sweet couldn't help wishing for a moment that Beta would meet the same fate. No, she scolded herself. That's not pack thinking. Snap and Fiery were looking away, unwilling to interfere between Sweet and their Beta. Sweet gave Beta a simpering, over-friendly, very insincere whine, just to irritate her. The Red Dog glowered at her as Alpha paced over to them. What's all the noise? Barked the half-wolf. Beta started and gave him a nervous look. I was giving them some fighting advice. That's all. Beta's face was cold and expressionless. Interesting. I've never heard quite such loud advice. Sorry, Beta muttered, licking her chops as she backed sullenly away. Fiery, said Alpha sharply, show me what you were working on. Then I can see what got Beta so worked up. Fiery nudged Sweet. Come on, show Alpha what you can do. Sweet took a breath, bunching her muscles in preparation for what she knew was coming. Sure enough, Fiery stretched his jaws in a grin, then sprang onto her. He knocked her flying, gripping her slender neck in his soft jaws and wrestling her to the ground. Sweet wriggled desperately, trying to kick him off. Come on, Sweet, get angry again. That worked. The trouble was, she couldn't get angry. It was all just so silly. She couldn't fight like this. Right, so I'm gonna fail, in front of Alpha this time, and Beta will never let me hear the end of it. The very image of Beta's mocking sneer gave her the sudden strength. Twisting sharply, Sweet writhed out of Fiery's grip, grabbed his shoulder with her fork claws, and hauled herself on top of him. She sank her teeth into the folds of flesh at his neck, and held him down until he went limp. She had a feeling he was submitting for her benefit, so that she could impress Alpha, but she kept the teeth firmly locked on his neck. Around them, there was silence from the other dogs. Well, said Alpha at last, tilting his muzzle skyward. What's wrong with that, Beta? Looks perfectly efficient to me. Fiery's just, began Beta, but Alpha cut her off. In fact, it looks a lot sharper than some of your moves. The half-wolf gave her a serious look. I think Sweet's a natural fighter. Despite his words, Sweet felt a twist of annoyance in her gut. What Alpha had said sounded suspiciously like what the older Swift dogs used to tell her when she was a pup. He's indulging me, she thought angrily, patronizing me, just to make a point to Beta. Maybe Alpha was trying to boost her confidence, which would be bad enough. Maybe he was using her to keep his Beta in her place. Whatever it was, it didn't sound honest to Sweet. She felt a growl rise in her throat, but she bit it back. Without waiting for the stammering Beta's response, Alpha turned with a flick of his bushy tail and stalked back toward his den. Beta watched him go, then turned her ugly stare at Sweet. "This isn't over," she snarled. She twisted and bounded into the forest. "It's not my fault," Sweet wanted to bark. Beta's hostility felt like a gigantic paw on the back of her head, shoving her down into the mud. "I didn't ask Alpha to praise me for something I didn't do." She knew there was no point running after Beta, though. The red dog didn't want to listen to anything she had to say. Sweet felt a warm flank pressing against her side. Fiery. Snap too sidled closer, giving her ear a reassuring lick. "Don't worry, Sweet," rumbled Fiery. "Alpha likes you, that's obvious, and that counts for a lot." "Yes," agreed Snap, "and Beta had better watch her hindquarters." Sweet took a step back, startled, and met Snap's eyes. "What do you mean?" "Huh." Snap tilted her head and cocked a brown ear. Every dog knows Alpha and Beta haven't been seeing eye to eye recently. Maybe you're just what's needed in this pack to— "That's enough, Snap," growled Fiery sharply. "Don't gossip about your leaders. There's nothing honourable about that." Snap gave him a dismissive hunch of her shoulders, but Sweet turned to her with horror. "I don't want to cause any problems. All I wanted was a pack, somewhere to belong, somewhere to feel safe. I want to be an asset to this pack, not make things worse." "That's all very well," muttered Snap, despite Fiery's warning glower. "But I'm not sure Beta's going to give you much choice."